Ladies and gingerbread men, welcome to TinyBlueGames. My name, of course, is Seesaw or Chris, and today we are talking about Fortnite. Now, this is a tiny game developed by Epic Games. I'm just kidding. Fortnite is one of the biggest games in the world right now. I mean, if you've not heard about it or watched it online or played it, I would be very surprised considering you clicked on this video and interest of it, but it is huge. And I mean, currently on Twitch, it's usually between #1 and #2 spots in terms of most viewed, which is just insane. And it really feels like the games come from nowhere. But this isn't necessarily true. For those of you who don't know, the game launched a while back with a PvE version. It's really this battle royale sort of situation that's propelled it into the spotlight of the world. And today, I wanted to do a quick conversation about some of the big reasons I think this game has become so popular, specifically from the perspective of a casual gamer. Now, the first point I want to discuss is the actual watchability of the game, because one of the biggest things that Fortnite has going for it is the fact that it's being watched by so many people. On Twitch, like I said at the start of this video, it's usually between spots #1 and #2, and then on YouTube, there's also a ton of live streamers as well as YouTubers. And there's just a ton of people that are consuming this content. And there's several reasons. Obviously, it's interesting because it's the flavor of the month and it's very popular right now. But there's some things that the game offers that makes it very easy to watch and unique to watch. And the #1 thing I think that does this is the fact that it is a battle royale game where the rules of the game are fairly simple. I mean, you're just trying to survive everyone else. And that's a, pretty easy concept. I mean, obviously there's a lot of different skills and a lot of different nuances in the game, but compared to a lot of other games, like League of Legends and stuff like that, the viewer doesn't really need to know much about the game to enjoy what they're seeing. Like, there's no specific items. You don't have to know every, hero or champion's specific skills. There's no work that really goes into that. You just have to understand how fun it is to survive situations that you didn't think you'd survive, to make crazy shots. You get to watch as people loot very rare items and get very lucky or very unlucky. It's very easy conceptually to understand the enjoyment. And when you compound that with a Twitch or something like that where you have the stream chat going on, it can become a very exciting thing to watch. Now, the other thing that becomes very exciting is when you get to late game and there's only several people left. It becomes very high intensity, and you not only get to enjoy the excitement of that, but you also get to learn very specific strategies that certain people use, which can help if you actually intend to play the game yourself. The idea of different strategies really brings me into my next point, and that's the idea that you can play this game in many different ways. I mean, obviously there's solo, duo, or squad, or the sort of game of the week kind of situation, and each of those have a bit more varying competition in them. But I think the biggest thing is that you can actually play and win Fortnite in various different ways. For instance, you could be all about sniping, you could be all about close range weapons, you could be about building a fort, you could be kind of about going into the thick of it and killing people to get as much loot as possible, or you could be sort of a lone wolf on the outskirts, sort of trying to avoid as much contact until the very end. You could focus on building a sky palace and doing some nice aerial building to sneakily get into the center, as much as everyone loves that. You could be a camper, you could be a balls to the wall gunslinger. There's so much that you can do, and so many different options that are allowed. And one of the main reasons this is possible is that everyone at the start of the game is beginning with the exact same kit, right? Like, there's no unbalanced part of the game. It's not like someone has 5% better rocket launcher skills than someone else. That's not the case. It's all really luck of the draw as to what you get when you get in there. So it not only allows people to play how they want, but it also introduces new ways to play each time you go into a round, because you're given a different set of cards, and based on that, you're going to choose a different way to play. So it helps to keep things fresh as well as let you play how you want to play. Now, this really leads into the big idea of time commitment, and the time commitment for this game is one of the smallest ones possible. You can literally not play for like months and months and months, and the only thing that's going to change is that you're going to get a bit rusty and have to get back into the groove of things, but you're not going to miss out on any actual benefit. Whereas a lot of games, specifically MMOs and some MOBAs, but not all MOBAs, there are, specific advantages you have if you've worked on a character for long enough. Specifically MMOs, you can get actual equipment that's better and stuff like that. But even other games have different trait lines and stuff like that that definitely give a small advantage to people who do play continuously. In Fortnite, you're all the same. Someone who's won, every single time, and someone who's won never before and plays once a month, you're exactly the same person starting out, and it's completely luck of the draw as to what you end up using in the game. Now, there's obviously some strategy involved. I mean, the person who's won 100 times might know where there's likely to be good loot and stuff like that. But in terms of actual character stats, there's no difference. And because of that, it's so easy to pick up and drop off and pick up compared to a lot of different games out there. The idea of being brought back into the game every so often is something that Epic Games, the creators of Fortnite, do very well. They focus very rigorously on having sort of weekly or bi-weekly updates to the game. Even if it's a very small new item or a small change to an item, they're very vocal about what change has been made, as well as what change we can expect in the next week or the week after that. And as a casual player, this keeps Fortnite kind of top of mind for me. It really allows me to, hey, I'm going to jump in next week at least to try out this new campfire, or I'm going to try out this new gun that they're looking at adding to it. Now, this is intermingled with other huge updates. For instance, we had a huge map do-over, which focused a lot on the sort of left western side of the map, and really added a lot of different loot locations. Now, I don't think anyone expects Fortnite to do huge map overhauls regularly, but if they can keep consistently adding new items to the game, that will draw a lot of attention. I mean, obviously there's, an argument that can be made about adding too many things to the game and keeping balance. But that comes back to the later point that, if an item's unbalanced, it does make the game a little bit unfortunate to play until it's, balanced. But the beauty of it is that anyone can get that item. So even though it's unbalanced, it's not like, situations where a specific class is unbalanced and you have to deal with that. In this game, you do have the chance to get it no matter what. So that gives Fortnite, I think, a bit more freedom in terms of what they're tossing into the game, especially given short periods of tossing things in. And I think that really helps to draw people in every single week. It's definitely helpful for content creators and streamers to really talk about these new items and be super excited about getting them. I mean, obviously certain streamers might abuse that and really focus on specific items even though they don't get it, but that's a whole different problem. But for the ones who do have the items and like to talk about them, it's a really nice, easy way to keep content creators happy, which is something that a lot of games don't focus on. If you're very transparent with when you're going to be releasing new content and what that content will be, it's a lot easier for content creators to do your advertising for you. So I think that's something, I don't know even if Epic Games is aware of how well they're doing it, but it's something that they're really allowing content creators to capitalize on. The idea of constantly adding new things is also aided by the building aspect of the game, because the fact that there's different resources and different shapes you can build and a lot of different structural things you can do in the game, they can really do a lot to add to this feature in the future. What also helps this is the fact that the other game mode for the game, the PvE version, has a lot more building in place to begin with, and they can continuously look at things that they're adding to that game to bring into Battle Royale. Because of that, it sort of gives them almost a testing area for anything that they want to bring to Battle Royale, and they can see the ramifications in a different scenario. I mean, obviously, they're not going to be the exact same test settings or anything like that, but it does allow them to see how players would interact with that, especially when it comes to buildings and stuff like that do work a little bit more similarly between the two game modes. I think that goes a long ways to help them introduce things quickly and really test things almost in a secretive manner for people who are very focused on Battle Royale and don't really read up on the updates that come to the Save the World edition of the game. Now, the final point I want to make is really a big thing that I think Battle Royale games in general add to casual players, and it's definitely something that Fortnite is capitalizing on, and that's the idea of actually being able to just be reliant on yourself in a game. Now, a lot of casual games and really popular games right now have a lot of focus on team play. For instance, League of Legends and Overwatch. You consistently need to be paired up with a team, and you have to really rely on members of that team to either win or lose, and that is really going to impact how much fun you're having in the game. In Battle Royale, specifically solo mode, you only have yourself to blame if you blow something up. And obviously this is difficult for some people, but it alleviates a lot of anger that people have, a lot of that salt of the earth that people have in Overwatch, where they try and tear apart their team after they lose, even if it's their fault. It really makes it so you can't debate that anymore. You know, if you want to get good at Battle Royale, you individually are going to get good at Battle Royale. And that is something freeing for a lot of players, I think, to not always feel like you have to play on a team. For instance, in Overwatch, if you could, you know, do a lot more competitively things as a solo player, I think that would get a lot of attention, because then people aren't always weighed down by their team, or they're not forced to feel like they have to make friends and become competitive with specific people. I think this allows a lot of freedom. Now, the thing that this also talks to is the ability for people to learn the game. For instance, you're going to join the game and be solo, and it's at first a very difficult learning curve where you're going to probably die really quickly because you have no idea what's going on, and you're, you know, not going to have a teammate to rely on. But the beauty of it is, once you start to understand a little bit, you can really start playing and learning in your own direction. You're not simply copying mistakes that you've seen other teammates doing. You're working on it yourself. You're learning it yourself. And then the other thing that the game offers is the ability to spectate whoever kills you. And because of that, you're able to watch people who have done well in the game and really learn what makes a good player from not a good player. I mean, obviously we've all been in the place where we've watched, you know, the top 5 players to see, you know, oh, he builds like this, or he uses this kind of gun at this point. It really does allow you to bring your game up, and it offers a non-intrusive way to learn the game if you're feeling interested in it. I mean, mentally you might be thinking, hey, I just want to watch this because I'm interested to see what happens, or because I'm mad at the person and I want to see if he dies. But on a subconscious level, you're actually learning, you know, strategy while you're doing that. It's a very convenient way to do it without forcing you to be stuck in that match, stuck in that team, stuck in that game. You can just leave at any point, which I think is such a freeing thing for new players. And there we have it. Those are sort of my, I don't know, 5 or 6, I don't know, it might even be 7 points now of why I think Fortnite is huge for casual players. You might not agree with everything. You might not even agree at all with the statement that Fortnite is good for casual players. And if you don't, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Let me know why I'm wrong. Let me know why you think something's different. Or if you agree with me, just share some more comments about why you think this game is so great for casual players. Either way, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm so glad you could watch this to the very end, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Thanks for watching.